Hey folks, this is Kalani, going to be talking about a few ways you can make a few extra gold every day just by going through a little bit of a routine. So, people have been asking essentially, how are you making gold right now? I'll be honest, the main way is actually through this daily routine. It's not necessarily as much gold as you might want, but it is a few gold in your pocket every day for doing a few very simple things. Now, first and foremost, because of the crafting change, we've got some very valuable materials. These being the ancient wood logs and the orichalcum ore. So I've been using these more or less as I get them, but we can see that sold on the trading post, these are worth quite a bit. Now bear in mind that for each of these nodes you will get a minimum of 3. So minimum for an orichalcum node will be 15 silver, and minimum for an ancient wood node would be approximately 24. So quite a bit of silver to be had just in these nodes. Now you may say, right, that's fine and dandy, these materials are worth something, but how the hell are we going to get them? That's where I recommend you going over to Gua2nodes.com. Gua2nodes.com. Now, over there, it looks exactly like this, actually, because this is the website. You can choose your server, you can choose the map you wish to go to. Obviously, it only has the 4 available where these nodes do spawn. You can choose the map size, etc. But this will give you a map of the spawn locations of these nodes on your server, which means that you can happily go through them. So that's Frostgod Sound, Cursed Shore, Malko's Leap, and Southsun Cove. You can go through these, loot them of their nice fine tier 6 materials, and move on, essentially, to the next part of the regime. So what we'll be looking at is essentially playing about with this farming. Now, I'll use Southsun as an example because there's only a few over there. Now, bear in mind that a lot of tier 5 are going to be here as well. This means you can either skip over the tier 5, or if you need the tier 5, for example for crafting, for the ectoplasm refinement, remember they do use tier 5 materials, both wood and metals, or if you just want something extra to sell, you can happily pick up those as well. So it's literally a simple case of looking where they are. I know for a fact that there's an orichalcum just north of here, which is actually down, so if we edge our way down the cliff. The Karka can be a little annoying on Karka Island. If you have a reflect, you can pretty much kill them on yourself. And you obviously will take no damage from that. But on Southsun, there's usually 3 orichalcum and 2 ancient wood logs. Bear in mind that one of the orichalcum is going to be way up in the Karka nest. So I'll go ahead and waypoint back and head on out to the logs. Now the logs are located towards the east, so we'll go ahead and grab those. So again, the Karka can be a little annoying, but as long as you avoid the majority of them, it shouldn't be too bad. Swiftness is godlike in this area. Okay, I'm not going to get the other orichalcum, simply because this is an awkward spot, but you can always kind of min-max how you feel you want to, so you can go for those orichalcum if you really want to. Notice that I don't pick up any of the tier 5 here, whereas I usually would. But you can do this across the Cursed Shore, Malko's Leap, Southsun Cove, and Frostgod Sound. Once again, Frostgod Sound is an easy one, but it's nice and efficient. You can either skip over the tier 5, or you can just go straight for the tier 6. The tier 6 are actually quite a good chunk of money. But the main thing here is that you kind of go through them, because they do reset on a 24-hour basis. Well, I think it might be quicker than a 24-hour basis. But bear in mind that these do swap locations, so I recommend checking Gua2nodes before you head out. That saves you a little bit of a headache if they have changed. Now, I do have to note that Gua2nodes isn't always correct. There are some in... The only troubles that I've had with it is that there are actually some which are not marked on Gua2nodes, which means you might miss one or two if they're not marked. But usually the ones that are marked are there, so it's really good in that respect. So, right now, because there are 12, I believe, Ancient Wood Logs active and 15 Orich Alchemort active, that's about 5 gold. So, if you don't pick up any tier 5, that's 5 gold straight up from your tier 6, which is, it's a nice bit of money to have every day. Or, you can use these materials for your ascended crafting, your crafting leveling, that kind of thing. So, that's kind of the first section of the daily routine. I'll go ahead and clear out all of these nodes, just so I've got the materials there. If I want to sell them, if I want to use them, I've got the materials there. So moving on, you can kind of split your time a little bit in the next section. So the next section of this is world bosses. World events, meta events, mega events, uber events, call them whatever you will. These are the events which will drop an account-wide once per day chest. Now, the main reason that I include these in the daily routine is because the amount of globs of ectoplasm you can get from here. This is a very nice boost to ectoplasm stores, or, again, selling them for money. So you can see we're about to get the fire elemental pop here, but just before it does, you can use a variety of websites for this. I use Gua2 Stuff, and this basically lists all the active ones, all the ones coming into a pre, any coming into a window, any which you've just completed, that kind of thing. You can select your server from the top, and it's happy go dandy. So, most of these bosses have recently had a revamp. Now, the main change in most of these revamps is that their health has been increased. It doesn't make them not worth doing. These chests are literally that good. You can't get a chest like it, or the rewards like it, through pretty much any other method. So, they definitely are worth doing, especially the once per day thing. The chests are, again, as I say, filled with loot. You can get anything up to, I think, 3 rares, maybe even 4. The most I've had from a single chest is 3 rares, and then obviously you get 1 guaranteed rare. So the guaranteed rare is the main reason for doing this. But the others, hey, it's free loot. I'm not going to complain about free loot. But I've seen people get precursors from these. I've seen people get exotics. Some of them selling for well over 20 gold, which is kind of ludicrous when you think about it for doing a single event. It's kind of crazy. So, it's a very nice balance between guaranteed money from the guaranteed chest and the guaranteed rares, and then kind of potential money from, obviously, any exotics that you can get. Now, most of them have recently had basically buffs, which means that there's a bit higher chance of you dying, but that's okay. You can always kind of revive and run back. So you've got a variety of these bosses, and some of them come up a lot faster than the others, some of them come up more often than the others, some of them you might only be able to see once a day. So obviously getting all of them isn't going to be kind of ideal, shall we say. So, for example, if you don't have very long to play and the Claw of Jormag just went down, it's very unlikely that you'll get to see him again kind of in your playtime. But you don't have to get all of these to make it worthwhile. Literally, if there's one up, then you should try and get credit for it. You should try go to it. Because if you don't have to wait, these are probably the best way to get gold in the game currently. You can see we get the guaranteed rare. Some of them have had boxes added to them, which makes them even better. And we've got our chest. Another rare, we've got Dragonite, which we can throw towards our Ascended Crafting, and a few greens which we can disenchant for luck, which is always important as well. Now, as I said, there's a variety of these, and they may not all be up at the same time, so you may have to kind of wait in between them. Now, that's where another option comes into play. Okay, so the next one, which can kind of coincide with the world bosses, is dungeons. Now, dungeons were changed to have a guaranteed gold reward at the end of each explorable path. So, most of these are 1 gold, I'll be honest, but that's kind of not where most of the money comes from. That's a guaranteed gold regardless, as long as you complete the dungeon, but then you've got any, obviously, coin from mobs, which may or may not drop them, but then you've got champion bags from any of the bosses that you take down, as well as the last boss that's guaranteed to have a champion bag. Then you've got all the chests you loot as well, which can be coin, can be rares, up to exotics. So there's a very, very nice kind of potential gold to make from dungeons as well. And with the new addition of the looking for group tool, it actually couldn't be easier. So the ones that I'd recommend doing are Ascalonian Catacombs Path 1 and 3 are relatively easy. I'd probably skip over Caudicus's Manor, mainly because if you're not experienced in it, it can take quite a while. Twilight Arbor isn't a great one, but Twilight Arbor Up is relatively simple. Sorrow's Embrace 1 and 3 are incredibly easy. Citadel of Flame Path 1 and 2 are, again, incredibly easy. Honor of the Waves Path 1 is very easy and very quick. Crucible of Eternity, Path 1's really easy and very quick. Paths 2 and 3, if you've got an experienced group, are also pretty quick, but you kind of need to know what you're doing for Path 2 and 3. They're the ones that I'd recommend you do, which actually net you quite a lot of gold if you can do them all. Obviously, if your playtime is restricted, you won't be able to do them all, and you can kind of weave these ones in between world bosses. That's probably the best way to do it. So, as I say, most of these have a guaranteed reward at the end, but the majority of the loot does actually come from what you kill throughout it. So for example, Sorrow's Embrace 1 and 3 will net you a lot of champion loot bags simply because how the dungeon works. You've got the champ bags from various champions throughout. For example, Path 1 is probably the best for it. You've got a champion mob to kill as a boss, then you've got champion golems to kill, and then you've got the boss at the end, which will also drop you a champion loot box. I don't think it does at the end of Path 1, but again, you've got a lot of champ bags there, which means that you've got them to open for coin, you've got them to open for loot, and obviously dungeons is the fastest way, or one of the... It's kind of, I don't want to call it the fastest way, because you could get them from open world chests and jumping puzzle chests, but it's a decent way to get some Imperial fragments for your Ascended crafting. So there's that as well to take into account if you do want to use it. So remember, you've got the looking for group tool. This is in beta, so not everybody may have it, but this makes joining a group so much easier. Literally, you just need to search for the one you want to do. So if we want Sorrow's Embrace Path 1 and 3, I think I may have broke it by spamming it. Maybe. Citadel of Flame. If you want to go Citadel of Flame, Glyphagur, Koth, Path 1 and 2, I can happily join that simply by clicking join. Go ahead, do the dungeon, get my rewards, shiny. So, if no world bosses are up and you want guaranteed gold, then this is a pretty decent way. Now, the very last way, there is another way. The very last thing is champion farming. So, you've done your ancient logs, you've done your Orichalcum, you've got all those tier 6 materials, you've done all the world bosses, and you've done yourself a few dungeons, but you still find yourself with a few spare minutes of gameplay. What to do? So, if you're looking to spend this time to try and get some gold, what you want to do is head up to Frostgorge Sound. Now, the best place to start is Drakkar Waypoint, right in the top left. So, at Drakkar Waypoint, the first thing you want to do is look for a commander on the map. We can see a commander up at the start, actually, which is very nice indeed. So we'll go ahead and join the Zerg. Now, this is the Frostgorge, apologies, champion farming. There is one down in Cursed Shore, but it's kind of fallen out of popularity since the nerfs. What really makes me laugh is that it wasn't even nerfed that badly. People just kind of saw a nerf and thought, oh, well, this is worthless now. So everybody just does Frostgorge now, when Cursed Shore could actually be better. So if your server does have a Cursed Shore, that may be a better option. But everyone seems to be on the Frostgorge champ train. So again, you want to find yourself the commander, just to make sure you know where the Zerg is. And in case you don't know, this champ farm goes from the top at Fish, around the corner to a Kodan, around the corner to a Norn, down into the water for a undersea worm, and then you teleport across to Earthshake and go kill a champion troll over there, and then teleport down to Skyheight and kill a champion brood mother. Now, from there it goes back to Drakkar, It's really nice in that the start basically is a waypoint, so it's a full reset regardless of cycle. Some people like to add in a few extras, but this is pretty much the standard champ farm. Now, this will net you a decent amount of gold. I mean, theoretically, you could make, let's see, just from the champ bags alone, you could probably make about 30 to 40 gold a day if you did this for 5 to 6 hours. If you did this for longer, I mean, I've heard of people, obviously with lucky drops, getting above 500 gold a day. If you think that when it first came out, Genesis was literally 500 gold for 3 in the coming weeks, but if you were lucky with drops, you could make an obscene amount of gold. Right now, you've got Genesis and Entropy still pretty high. If we have a quick look at those. Now, this is a brilliant example. 50 gold for Genesis, that's kind of disgusting. 27 for Entropy. I feel so bad for the people who dropped so much gold on these early on. So, here we have the start. Now, Champion Ice Brood Fish. While we kill this, I'll just briefly explain how this champ farm works. Because of the high amount of, or rather the high frequency of the champion bags that you're looting, it's kind of very, very, very high potential gold, in that every single one has a chance to contain a rare above, so that's a glob straight up, potentially, or an exotic which you can sell for a pretty penny. Now, going above that, you have the special exotics, such as Entropy and Genesis, which have a very nice spike of gold. I mean, just think if every single champ bag you got gave you a Genesis. That's a disgusting amount of gold. You can make a ridiculous amount of gold doing this if you are lucky. Now, the other very nice thing about the champion farm is that you're guaranteed a blue or green from every champion box. So we'll just open these two that we got so far. Basically, you can see we got an Orichalcum, which is a few silver thrown in there, but we've also got a few items. Now, disenchanting these can give us, obviously, tier 6. We got some more leather, but it also gives luck. Now, this luck is probably one of the most important resources, or most valuable resources right now, simply because you can't get it from a great deal of things. You can get it from these rares and, these blues and greens. You can get it from globs of ectoplasm, and that's about it. So, these actually are very valuable to anyone who wants to farm this luck. And if you think about it, when you get to the... Obviously, it's a very long way off for people, but when you get to the point where you're at 200% plus luck, that's 200% free magic find. Running around with that is kind of ridiculous in that you could get exotics and rares from any mob with a high chance. That's kind of silly when you think about it. But additional to that, all of these champ boxes have the potential to drop tier 6 crafting materials. Now, these are very sought after right now, very prized. Some, well, I know the blood are going for quite a lot as usual, but if you get another one of those, again, it just spikes the amount of silver you're getting per champion box, which obviously spikes the amount of gold you're getting per cycle, per run, and obviously just how much time you're spending in it. So if you're really lucky, you could get over 10 or 20 gold in an hour simply with luck. So this is probably the best way to spend any spare time, mainly because it is very potential based. There's not a lot of guaranteed gold there like there is with the world events. You're guaranteed rares. With the dungeons, you're guaranteed gold at the end of it and champion bags. But this is just a very nice way to kind of top it off until you need to log out. So that's it. If you find yourself kind of, oh man, I wish I had a little bit more money to spend, well, here you go. You've got your Ancient Logs and Orichalcum, obviously for the 4 zones. You've got world events and world bosses, which you can take down. Tekatl, obviously, right now, if your server is pretty reliable with downing him, is kind of worth it right now, especially because of the potential gold with the mini Tekatl. But apart from that, the other world bosses do still give you quite a bit. Dungeons are still worth it. Very much so, in my opinion, especially some of the ones which can drop things such as Lodestones, not Citadel. COE, sorry, is very good. potential for charged lodestones and charged cores, which are still selling for quite a pretty penny. And then if you've still got some spare time and don't really feel like doing anything taxing, but still want to make a bit of coin on the side, champion farming is probably your best for filler. So thanks for watching, folks. Good luck and have fun, and as always, I'll see you next time.